Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rahma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
And the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And today is day 110 of the Memorial Day celebration. And what that is we are honoring, remembering those who have served and those who have lost their lives and the conflict that all brings about and healing that dynamic on our planet and in our families. And I'm going to talk on the show for a little bit. Michael's doing some errands. This is our first day of our intuitive development, and so there were last-minute errands to be run, and I was actually down in the kitchen, so I apologize. I was a little bit late getting the show turned on. But it's such fun in the fast lane. I'd just like to share one thing that it actually came up in my psychology class last night, and I'm back at school full-time, and one of the things we're talking about right now is abnormal behavior. And so one of the things that, I brought out in class was that all of us, when the stress is up and the chips are down, go into what could be classified as abnormal behavior. And that we have to have a tool for knowing how to do that. And I had texted Dr. Tim last night to get the title of a book that he had referenced a couple of times, and it's called The Gentle Art of Blessing. And it's one of the things that he mentions in it, it's just about blessing everybody and everything and sending love. And one of the stories that he gives is about a Polish prisoner in the concentration camp that had been liberated. And after 6 years of being in this concentration camp, he still looked healthy, bright-eyed, had an erect posture, had abundant energy. Everybody that was in the camp, regardless of their race or their culture, they called him a friend. And he never seemed to get weary, and he always had compassion for the other inmates. And the person actually thought that maybe he had only been into the concentration camp for a few days because he looked so well. And he was shocked when he found out he'd been in there for 6 years. And he wondered, why did he not have that skeletal look about him like all of the other people that were in there? And the gentleman shared his story that 6 years before, when he first went into the concentration camp, he actually watched his wife and 5 children be shot down in front of his eyes. And the only reason they kept him alive was because he could speak German. And so he was going to be useful for them. And he said he decided right then whether to let myself hate the soldiers who did this. Hate had just killed the 6 people who mattered the most to him. He was a lawyer before, and as a lawyer, he had seen how hate destroyed people's minds and bodies. And so he said, I decided that I would spend the rest of my life loving every person that I came into contact with. He saw that love generates life while hate destroys it. And so just by the simple act of choosing to love, whether it was the person that he could have called his enemy, whether it was the soldier who had just killed his family, whether it was other inmates who had different beliefs, it didn't matter. He chose to love. And because he did that, he stayed healthy and vibrant and was able to move through it. There were several stories like that came out of the class last night, and that was just, thank you, Tim, for sending it to me, for the link, because you had talked about it and I hadn't marked it down. But it is now on our website, so if you want to go to the section that says stories, quotes, links, and more, it's out there at the top of that so that you can get the information about how to order the book. It's only like $10, $12. I actually downloaded it to my Nook last night, so it's awesome, and thank you for sharing that with us, Tim. I know I've got Tim and David both turned on, and Michael, you're actually with us now too. And so if anybody wants to add anything in regards to that line of thinking.
Well, one of the thoughts that I have, sweetie, as you talk about that story that is key in the process is that this fellow was an attorney. It wasn't on any religious basis or anything else that he decided to love. As an attorney, he had seen what hate had done to people, and that's what had him make the choice to love.
And so it's for our well-being, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, or whatever. It serves us personally, as well as everybody around us that's receiving it. But it's kind of a selfless, not selfish, but selfless. But it's for self as well as much as for anybody else that we choose to love.
Definitely self-wise.
Self-wise, that's a good one. Yeah, thanks. And we do already have a caller.
Oh, let's hear from our caller.
Area code 847. You're on the air. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
Oh, hi, Jeanie and Michael and Tim and Dave. This is Carrie Lee from Cary, Illinois.
Carrie.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Carrie.
I loved your story, Jeanie. Very, very inspiring, and for someone to rise above that level of trauma makes all of our stuff look pretty puny, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
not kidding. You're not kidding, and that's what the relationship commitment is about. Is the choice to love. Really, there's a little bit of a misnomer there, because the truth is we've never loved anyone, and we can't. But it's about claiming our human lives in the presence of another who shows us our drama and our trauma. And so, as opposed to a verb, something we do to someone else, it's a state of being that, this man claimed and plugged into a proper power supply. Aliveness and vitality becomes his right. One who disconnects from that power supply and blames somebody else and says, well, I'm not going to live as my human being that says love because of what you did. It's just destroying themselves, shattering themselves, and not doing any harm to the other. And, of course, that relationship commitment is about reclaiming our human lives, although it looks like it's something we're doing for someone else.
And I just can't say how perfect that is for why I called in today.
Ah, cool.
So
tell us about it.
Well, it's about this process that I started here on Monday. I made this commitment to do 5 worksheets a day, and I kind of texted you on Wednesday. Wow, this is really intense. Mm-hmm. And so yesterday, I really got an opportunity to see myself go into my drama. I created a whole bunch of depression and headaches to avoid doing the worksheets. And
interesting.
Yes, and the reason that I told myself that I did this, my feelings were that I got really sad, overwhelmed, and kind of despairing at all the negative stuff that had been coming up. And I just saw myself, the thoughts that I had were that I'm really ugly, it's too hard, and I'm a prisoner of my negativity. So,
Carrie, my first question, Carrie, would be, how many generations do you suppose that thought structure has been going on in your bloodline?
Forever, I'm sure. Forever.
So I acknowledge you for having the courage to face it and be conscious of it instead of keeping it relegated to the hidden part of the mind. That's awesome.
So what I did this morning is I did 3 worksheets on it. And I read the commitment to myself in front of the mirror. I didn't take my clothes off, but I did read it to myself.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. If somebody, wait a minute. Let's not let that comment pass if somebody misinterpret it.
Okay.
When we invite people to do the commitment in the mirror, we suggest that if one has body image problems, they do it in the nude. This is not a nudistic exercise, but if you have body image problems and you stand in front of the mirror, you get to stand in the space of being in love for your own body, and that just melts all kinds of garbage.
Right. And perhaps I'll get there soon. I will get there.
Yeah.
So what I kind of got to see in doing just the 3 worksheets today, because so much over Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so much of this stuff that came up was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been in this much denial about myself. So then I was also pissed off that I let myself down and gave in to my drama. So that was another worksheet. And then the third worksheet was when I was writing about that, letting myself down and giving into all that, what came up for me that I did another worksheet on is that my ego and my carbon-based mechanism is unlovable. So that's the third one I was starting to work on when I called in. So, what I'm calling to ask is, about these worksheets, when I'm going through them, is there, I'm not canceling my goal because I actually started, after Monday, I started doing the 12-step one instead of the 7-step worksheet because I felt I needed more of a process because it was so intense. And so number 9 on the worksheet of canceling my goal, because the goal that I had for the drama worksheet was that I keep going no matter what ugly avoidance stuff comes up, that I just keep going.
Right. And you didn't cancel that goal?
No, I didn't know if I should cancel it or not. That's where I'm kind of struggling with. Okay, well, that's a great goal, Should I cancel that? Good question.
It's an awesome goal. However, remember that the goal is a driver that you load into your mind, your carbon-based memory, and then your carbon-based memory shows what it has in relationship to that goal. If what it has is anger, depression, sadness, then you've dissociated from that anger, depression, and sadness. The goal accesses it, recruits those brain cells with anger, sadness, and depression, and then you build a picture of a body that you call yours that you've got anger, sadness, and depression over. You absolutely want to cancel the goal. That's the core of the forgiveness process. And you don't cancel the goal because you don't want it. And remember, the last step of the worksheet, you've got the opportunity to go back, if it's an appropriate goal, to reset that goal. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
But you cancel it because it accesses your hostility and fear and reduces your intelligence. That's why you cancel the goal. You can have the most awesome, wonderful, God-based goals in the world in your mind, but if they access hostility and fear in you, the dissociated mind will keep you struggling with the hostility and fear. What happens when you cancel the goal is you collapse the projection on your own body, and you get to go back to the root of those thoughts and feelings, and that, when they're exposed to love, is what changes them. Does that make sense?
I see. Okay, so kind of beating myself up and say, okay, I'm going to keep going no matter what comes up, this stuff comes up in me like, oh, you can't do that, you're too weak, or whatever. So I see how canceling the goal, I think I'm getting it after a long time. So even if it's a good goal, I still need to cancel it, because then in 12, the loving goal that I created for myself was to know that the path of love is always there for me. Hello?
That's a good one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were still there, if I was cut off.
And you might go back and reestablish that original goal that you had, that you identified earlier in the worksheet, if that's still an appropriate goal, go back and reload it. And when you reload it, if it brings up more hostility and fear, that will be your next canceling it again. You know, when they said to Yeshua, you know, how many times do we have to do this canceling process? How many times do we need to forgive? Is 7 enough? In Aramaic, what he said was, no, 77 times 70, which means that as long as it takes you to work through your genetics and the hostility and fear, in this case about your body, is as many times as you're going to cancel that goal, reestablish it, cancel it, reestablish it. The key is any goal that resonates or recruits in your mind some form of dissociated hostility or fear needs to be canceled so you get to heal that hostility and fear and get out of the insanity. That's the whole core of the process.
Right. Okay. All right. So with each worksheet, I'm, writing down a whole page of paper, and there's like sometimes 8 or 9 more worksheets that need to be done from that. So
that's typical. The writing
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So okay, I can maybe stop beating myself up over that.
Yeah, it's going to be time. Actually, I wouldn't suggest you stop beating yourself up over that. I'd suggest you let go of beating yourself up over anything.
Yeah.
You are an awesome being, made of the stuff called the love of God, and you're designed to function as that. And no matter what you've done, no matter what you do, you deserve love just because the Creator put the breath of life in you. It's what you're designed for.
So I guess that is the thing that this keeps going back to my personal lie of feeling unwanted. So if I'm feeling unwanted on a really deep level that I've been kind of doing a lot of work on, and I'm seeing how this is affecting all of my thoughts about myself and therefore how I interact with everyone, then how can I even get to interacting with my higher self, Michael? This is a question that came up for me this morning. It's like, I don't believe that I'm good enough to be this extension of love.
So it might take 77 times 70 times to break that reality in your mind, coming from a long genetic history of self-rejectors. So that's probably going to be one of your 77 times 70 worksheets to be able to get up and through and out the other side of that one.
Okay, so another question I had about this was, where does the MindShifters kind of come in here? Should I be doing some of that with the worksheets maybe once a week or something?
Sure. I would take and use all of the tools. Use any and all of the tools all the time in whatever circumstance you're in. So yes, absolutely. Use the MindShifter. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, I think I will, because I'm reading this commitment to myself, and it, and I have questions about it every time I read it,
Right. So a good MindShifter would be, I deserve love just because the Creator put the breath of life in me.
Okay.
An awesome MindShifter for you to work with.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right on track. You're doing some awesome work. Any other support we can be?
You're doing everything perfectly. Thank you so much.
All right, blessings. Love to you.
Thank
Great
you.
work. Thanks for calling, Carrie.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Michael, I'd like to share one other thing that I read in the Gentle Art of Blessing last night.
Yes.
And it says, if you cannot live your spiritual path in the subway, in the middle of a street fight, when facing a major challenge, or when playing tennis or baseball, you might question its very use. This book will also demonstrate for you that spirituality is not a concept to be debated abstractly, but a transforming power that has meaning only if it is lived daily.
I'll second that. Jeanie?
Yes.
about reading that again? That's awesome.
Says, if you cannot live your spiritual path in the subway, in the middle of a street fight, when facing a major challenge, or when playing tennis or baseball, you might question its very use. This book will also demonstrate for you that spirituality is not a concept to be debated abstractly, but a transforming power that has meaning only if it is lived daily.
Yay. I'll join you in that. I'll second that one. That's right on track.
Yeah. It's a very
Who
good
penned
book.
that thought? Was that the author of the book that penned that thought?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the author's name? And let's let people know once again. They can order it, I know, on Amazon.
I actually have it on our website under Stories, Quotes, and Links. And it's this top thing. It's called The Gentle Art of Blessing. And his first name is Pierre. His last name, I'll probably butcher it here, Pradervand, Pradervand.
I think you're right on track. I think that's exactly how it's pronounced.
And it's an awesome book. And thank you, Kim, for sending me the link last night. And like I said, I downloaded it to my Nook, and I've been reading it and put the link out on the website for it. And I just think it fits perfect with what all we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think it outlines a really nice tool for some people. You know, Michael talks about in his work to really grasp some of these newer concepts. It helps to get it from a lot of different perspectives. And a lot of what we're working on with the worksheets and the forgiveness process is echoed in that book, except it's a slightly different process of learning to send blessing to people and to focus on their highest and best, even if they aren't demonstrating their highest and best in the moment. To just know in your heart of hearts that they have that potential and that capacity, as Michael said, simply because the Creator gave them breath, and focus on that, know that can come to fruition in any given moment, and bless them for having that capacity.
And of course, it's most urgent to do it, especially when they're not living up to their highest capacity. There's an awesome principle expressed in the Course in Miracles. It says, what you see in another, you reinforce both in them and in yourself. And so when you see that highest and best, and you hold the space for it, it doesn't mean that if one needs to be held accountable for the lowest and worst, that you can't hold them accountable. But in the meantime, can you hold the space of love and move into that highest and best space?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for reading that, Jeanie, and that's The Gentle Art of Blessing.
Yes. And he actually, at the back of the book, the last couple chapters, he has different blessings. It's like examples of like a blessing for a cab driver, or a blessing for a couple that's getting married, or a blessing for a lawyer, a blessing for a nurse, a blessing for an inmate. So he's got just all kinds of blessings for parents. So it's just sort of like some little examples of blessings that you can use to bless the different people, the teachers, or the world situations that you see. For a blessing for terrorists, it's just got blessings for everything. Leaders of economy.
Why don't you read that? Why don't you read the one for terrorists, honey?
Okay.
Because most people on the planet are thought terrorists in their own minds. They don't need anybody else to terrorize them. Most of the people who announce the evening news are terrorists. They terrorize people with all the fear thoughts they can give them. Let's offer a blessing to all the terrorists in the world, especially ourselves when we terrorize ourselves or each other.
So it says, I bless those who are tempted to commit a terrorist act, whether out of despair, hatred, fear, lust for power, or any other tormented human motive. I bless them in their integrity, that they may discover that the wholeness in themselves cannot be reached at the cost of the wholeness of others. I bless them in their realization that love is the ultimate law governing the universe and mankind, and that their deepest, honest longings can only be reached through the law of love. I bless them in their awareness that deep down they are children of the light.
Amen. The only slight
I'm not saying this, I just had to breathe.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Excuse me.
And that terrorists schemes are but an inversion of the light with no true cause, substance, or law behind them. I bless them in their understanding that the darkness they see or imagine can only be dispelled by light.
Hey, sweetie, you got it.
Not by more darkness. I bless them in their unlimited goodness, kindness, compassion, and caring, which is waiting within to be kindled and brought to full fruition. I bless them in their grasp of the law of right return, that they may understand that the good or evil that they do to another, ultimately they do to themselves. I bless them in their hunger and thirst for righteousness, that it may be fulfilled. I bless them that any sense of lack that they feel may be healed by a clearer consciousness of infinite abundance now, that any restlessness may give way to thy peace, that any feeling of insecurity with its attendant aggressiveness or fear may be healed by the sense of thy comforting presence, that any sense of separation, clannishness, or loneliness may be assuaged by the understanding that we are all one. And I bless myself in my awareness that divine love sees no terrorist, only its perfect reflection, and that this same consciousness can be mine as I understand that behind the veil of appearances, all men and women have one mind, the divine mind.
That's awesome. Nice work, Peter.
Breathing.
Yeah, thank you for reading that, sweetie.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we reinforce over and over in this work is just hold a newborn child to know what human life is, and that the person who can hold to that human life in the presence of the most horrific act becomes the healer of that most horrific act. And if we would let go of the blessings we pretend to bestow upon ourselves and take away from everyone else and offer that blessing to all the world, that we become the light of the world, we change the dynamics.
I can see where just reading a blessing to other people, just, saying a blessing to other people, how powerful that can be in the whole energy in yourself and in them and in the whole planet.
Amen.
And
woman.
And there's a couple of things I'd like to add here. One of them is we did a book study group on that book, and books have testimonials in them. And as I read the testimonials, I thought, well, this is nice, but it's probably pretty much just marketing material. But we had people who had only had possession of the book for 3 to 4 weeks, and then we had our book study group. And we had 16 people on the call, and there were 7 different people who had to burst in and say, but I've got an example of how I use this, and it's already working in my life.
Mm-hmm.
In just the 3 to 4 weeks that they were trying it. At the same time, I want to say that Mr. Pradervand has a number of different blessings in the back of the book, and many of them are as beautiful as the one Jeanie just read. And it's evident that he's been working with this tool for a long time. And the second thing that usually happens is akin to what Carrie was just talking about. People read the book, they get excited, and then they get in a difficult situation, and they can't think of how to do the blessing. So it really is a skill to stop the momentum of the conditioning in my mind that wants to go into the old thought patterns and build the new skill of how to stop, center myself in that space of love, and then send a blessing which really is focused on knowing the highest and best about the other person. So if you get this book, if you like this and you try it, don't be surprised if it isn't so easy to do, once you get started. And it's very evident to me, reading that book, that he's been doing this work for a good long time, and the blessings he has in the back of the book are just, they're beautiful, but obviously well crafted.
Yeah, very powerful tool. Thank you, Pierre Pradervand.
Pierre.
French Pierre, American Peter.
And the other comment was about Carrie, and as we were just talking about, she's beating up on herself because she's not able to take a quantum leap forward in her process after doing, well, what is this? This is Friday. On Monday, she made a commitment to do 5 worksheets a day, and she's beating herself up because she's not at a quantum level.
Not finished yet. Come on.
Yeah, she's not done.
Why am I not all done already?
And it's so important for us to catch those patterns as she did, and to be able to make herself call in and say, here's the problem, and can I ask for help and support with this? That's exactly what we need to do if we're going to make, each of us, if we're going to make enough progress to see significant results. But once we start doing that, if you just burst through that fear, then, and ask for the help and keep putting the pen to paper and using the tools, you will see the results. I just had another woman in my office this morning, and she came to 2 of the workshops when you were here, but she lives quite a ways away, so she doesn't get into my office very often. And it's been well over a month since she was in. But she had several stories of how just trying to do, she's not committed to 5 worksheets a day, but she's trying to do 2 or 3. And just at that rate, she's seeing significant change in her ability to respond to people more lovingly and to minimize or shut down the fears as they erupt in her. And it put me in mind of the sign, often in parks and zoos, they have a sign out there that says, don't feed the bears. Well, I saw a sign recently that said, don't feed the fears.
Nice.
Awesome. Continue. Thank you for bringing that book up again. And Tim, thank you for turning us on to it. We will certainly work and help at turning the world onto it. And another tool to bring forward human life.
Another way is to get Memorial Day to another level.
Absolutely.
Well, Michael,
go ahead.
I just thought I would share a story from Mr. DeMello, Anthony DeMello. There's a book about story meditations. And he said 2 hunters chartered a plane to take them into the wilderness so they could do some hunting. And the pilot left and came back 2 weeks later. And when he got back, among other things, they had killed 2 buffalo. And the pilot told them, this plane isn't big enough to carry us and your gear and both of those buffalo. There's only one, it can only handle 1 buffalo. And both of the pilots immediately erupted and objected and said, listen, we were here last year with a pilot. He had exactly the same plane, and he told us that it could take both buffalo. So, it was 2 against 1, and they discussed it for a bit, but finally the pilot gave in and said, well, I guess you know what you're doing, if it happened last year. So they got in the plane, loaded it up, and took off. They were having some difficulty gaining altitude, and eventually they clipped some trees and crashed into the side of a mountain. And the hunters got out, and the one hunter said to the other one, "Hey, Bob, where do you think we are?" And Bob said, "I think we're about 2 miles west of where we crashed last year."
Oh, my.
Cute. Oh, well.
Remember, it's a spiritual story, and every part and person in the story resides within us.
Absolutely.
And we absolutely do that to ourselves time and time again, trying the same thing that hasn't worked the last 37 times, but convinced that we've got a good reason for applying it in this situation, and then we're shocked when it doesn't work out.
Yep. That's the truth.
Well, that's pretty much all the material I brought to the party today.
Well, that's awesome, Jim. Thank you. We appreciate it. And we appreciate your support. We certainly had a blast being up in Cary for that week. And Carrie from Cary, who's doing the support group at the Center for Spiritual Evolution in Cary, Illinois, on Sunday nights. Dr. Tim's support group is in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Is there any word on whether or not the movement's going to take place? Moving to a new location, Tim?
Well, at this point, everything's up in the air. They're negotiating on a contract for the church, the new church site. So we just have to wait and see what happens.
Cool. Fabulous. All right. Well, Jeanie, is there anything happening in the chat room or any other questions that anybody else calling in on the phone?
No, there's no other questions. I just gave everybody our website in the chat room. It's www.whyagain.com, and click on Download Worksheets. And the third link down is an MP3 of Michael walking a lady through doing a worksheet. It was their radio show back on August the 2nd, and very powerful. So if you're new to this forgiveness process, download a worksheet and listen to that show. It'll walk you through. Give us a call in and let us know your feedback or what you've experienced. That's the worksheet that Carrie was talking about doing. And our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, Julie. I just walked into the kitchen and Julie's listening to the radio show on her speakerphone. So got to give her a little shock. Saying hello, both live and on the radio show.
Yeah, technology is awesome. That we're in different places at different times, and yet we can still come together and do the show. And we definitely appreciate all of you that listen and tune in. We've got a lot of people listening in on the switchboard. The chat room's been really quiet the last few days. We appreciate you passing on the information to other people and tell them to tap in. We're here every Monday through Friday. And, of course, the more interaction we have with people, the more exciting the show is. We've got about 19 minutes left of today's show. If anybody has a question, please call in. If you're already on the radio and you want to ask a question, you need to press 1. So that lets me know that you want to be put in queue to talk to Michael or ask a question or make a comment. Otherwise, you're just out there listening.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to start our intuitive development tonight, starting in just a few hours, so that's exciting. And since Julie's listening, thank you so much for your support in the kitchen this morning. We got all the dressings and things made, and we were just waiting on Michael to show up with the vegetables, so now we can fix dinner.
Well, Julie's in there. I don't know exactly what she's washing, but she's in there washing dishes. So thank you for that support. All things moving forward at Heartlands. For those who aren't familiar with our teaching center, we have what used to be a resort here in the Ozarks, southern Missouri, a little town of Theodosia, which interestingly enough is a Greek verb that means God in the act of giving. So we are in a property that has,
You're echoing out. You're cutting out, Michael.
Am I? Okay, is that better?
Yes.
see if I move the phone closer so it'll work better. How's that?
Good.
Is that good?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. As we speak, we're unloading food for the intensive and moving forward. If anyone's ready to do another level of their work of forgiveness is getting ready to start to happen on a new level at Heartland, Theodosia. I'm doing a 9-day intuitive development. We'll start out with why is this happening to me again. We'll move into MindShifters of still point breathing and the intuitive development process. It's going to be a small, very intensive. So if you're ready to crank your work up to the next level, call us. Get in a plane. Get in a car. To Theodosia. And join us. We are on the go. Doing an introduction tonight, starting with forgiveness tomorrow at 1 o'clock. That's our plan. We're sticking to it. And David's just come up and actually.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
You are not coming in very clearly.
No?
Yeah.
No, you're fading out.
Yeah. I'll have to stop unloading until after the show.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was coming up as I was driving in, I was listening to the audio of the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? You might have heard of it. It's by an author. It's got a retreat center down in Theodosia, Missouri.
Where did that go?
But one of the key things that was said in the preface notes is just so important. It keeps coming up in the support group is you don't have to be perfect at this. You don't even have to believe in the worksheet process. You just have to give it a chance. It's a tool, and you actually do better if you don't believe in the worksheet process, but you try it and you test it and see if it has benefit for you. And this is exactly what happened on Tuesday when we had somebody come back to the group after, I think it was 3 years she hasn't been around. And she was in a difficult situation internally, and her emotions were running very high. And a friend mentioned, well, we had the support group coming tonight. So she came to the support group on the spur of the moment. And then at the end of the night, or halfway through the workshop, we do a worksheet process, and she just pulled out a worksheet and started working on a long-standing problem she had. And her attitude when she began was absolutely, this is pointless, but I'll just do it. And lo and behold, she's the one who had one of the biggest breakthroughs of the evening. Yep. So even if you don't understand, and by the time she finished the worksheet, she had written things in different portions of the worksheet that no one would ever tell you to do. Now, I'm not saying she did it wrong. She just did it differently. The words resonated one way with her, and she wrote down all kinds of different things that may not have been the most accurate in terms of what the worksheet is asking for, and yet she still had this fabulous breakthrough. And the breakthrough came when she asked for help, and then she asked for help from a higher power and just relaxed into it and took a couple deep breaths and felt a deep shift within her. So, I just have to encourage anybody who's listening, if you don't know anything about the worksheet process and it all sounds very complicated or too good to be true, it's okay to have that attitude. Download the worksheet anyway, get out your pen, and fill in some blanks and watch what happens. It really is a fabulous tool.
And over the last 25 or 30 years of developing that worksheet, there have been a lot of tools integrated into it. So many times people will stop because they don't understand the particular steps. But you just go ahead and do the steps. You miss one, you don't understand it, skip over it. There are a number of tools built into the whole process.
You're cutting out, Michael.
Along with the forgiveness process.
Okay, so you were saying there are a number of tools in the process. So if you get to a point in the worksheet where you don't understand it or it doesn't make sense, just skip over that and go to the next one, and you're still likely to get good results from the worksheet.
Exactly. Yep. That's how it works. I'm going to walk in.
All right.
Have we heard anything from Joe in Naperville about a MindShifters group down there, Michael?
I know that it's coming, that she's working on it, but I have not heard of the date yet. They're supposed to be meeting this week to start to work together on worksheets. When the official MindShifter group will start, I'm not sure.
All right.
Are you able to hear me on that?
Yes, and keep us posted.
Thank you. Most definitely.
So we have just a few minutes. Call-in number is 646-200-4169. Or if you're in the chat room, ask your question. We'd love to hear from you. If you're on the phone, press 1. It'll let me know you want to talk.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. Call us. Somebody pick up the phone. Say hello. Julie, share something with us.
She actually is not on right now. Julie and David both disappeared.
Oh, okay. Oh. Well, Julie came out to help unload food from the van, so. And we're finished. So I'm back. I will come up there and see if I can get a better signal.
Okay, you're coming through clear right now.
Oh, good. Okay. Fabulous. All right. Let me go up there and get a better signal. I can't.
So, next topic.
So, anything happening in the chat room, Jeanie?
No.
No? Okay. Cool. Well, somebody say something. Who's got a thought for us? Who wants to guide the conversation next? Who wants to move us in a direction? And maybe just if there's some new folks, especially with the, it's kind of like dropping you in the middle with Carrie's conversation, if you haven't been with us before. And the whole idea of the process of forgiveness has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook because of what's happening inside of you. The world's game of forgiveness is you did something really terrible to me, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. And, of course, if I let you off the hook because I'm doing something really terrible to myself, because I have an internalized pain or rage or anger or sadness or grief, letting you off the hook isn't going to do anything to change that. We've been sold a Trojan horse. In this culture, we've had delivered into our heads a Trojan horse called pardoning in place of forgiveness. We've been given a false definition, a false idea. And so our whole forgiveness conversation is, it's an Aramaic tool with which you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged inside of you in the first place. That's the process of forgiveness. That's what we're here to support you in learning and doing, actually putting the pen to the paper and doing. And, I'm sure if Carrie is still on the line, if she felt inclined to call back again, I'm sure that Carrie has done all kinds of forgiveness work over the years, all kinds of letting people off the hook for the terrible things that they've done to her, as most of us have done. And now she's being introduced to a whole new game. And as she said, it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense when you start to say, oh, my God, I've been through this 87 different times with 42 different people. And I am the only one that was there every time. Maybe I need to take responsibility and change what's happening inside of me instead of repeatedly pretending somebody else is to blame for what's happening inside of me. And so that's the tool of forgiveness. And the worksheet that we're talking about, if you're not familiar with it, if you haven't tapped into it yet, please go to the website, www.whyagain.com. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. If you'll click on that link, you'll be able to download there are dozens of links there, but the first 4 links are all about the core of the Aramaic forgiveness process. So what we invite you to do is download those 4 links. There's a new chapter 24 of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again?, that will lay out exactly how the forgiveness process works. There is a 7-step reality management forgiveness worksheet process. There is a radio show. The third link is an awesome radio show that's walking a woman through the 7-step process, and just magnificent results, probably the most powerful worksheet I've seen done in better than 25 years of doing this work. The next link is still another radio show, an MP3. You can download it free. You can also download my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, free. Jeanie is the webmaster. I was talking to somebody this morning. They were acknowledging how awesomely well the website is organized, how easy it is to find things. And, jump on the website. You can spend weeks there. Thank you, Jeanie, for the awesome work that you've done. This genius young lady had never touched the website before we met 6 years ago, and now she are the webmaster. And just does a fabulous job of it. Thank you. I can't thank you.
You're welcome. And we actually met about 8 years ago, but we've been together permanently as a couple for 6. And we do have a caller on the line. Area code 541. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Hey there. This is Beautiful One. Hi, Jeanie. Hi, Michael.
Hey, how are you doing?
Who's calling?
Beautiful One.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you if you could speak about any people or other cultures, past or present, that exemplify the principles that you're teaching, and thank you for teaching them.
Well, I think that in many ways there have been many cultures who've strived to live a human life. And, I think they're all over the planet. And there are many family systems that work to live as human lives. And it's, in this particular culture, difficult not to get sucked into the non-human behaviors of hostility or fear. The one that I'm most familiar with that had this particular piece of technology for maintaining their human lives, forgiveness, is the Aramaic. The Aramaic language is the root language of at least 6 of the world's major religions. And the reason is not, I don't believe, because it was a religious language, but rather it is a language of physics, it is a language of psychology, it is a language of genetics. And when you understand it from that perspective, all of a sudden everything becomes very usable here and now today and becomes functional. Mm-hmm. The need for dogma kind of disappears. You start moving out of dogma and you start doing your work because, dogmas are just a game that people want to play to enforce on others what they've come to believe. And usually what they've come to believe helps them to maintain their hostility, their fear, their warlike postures. And in the name of the man who said, love those who hate you, do good to those who despitefully use you. So I couldn't specifically go into any other cultures that had this particular tool because I don't know of any. But the Aramaic is where it comes from.
I know one of my animals has said that Katna is far superior to dogma.
Say it again.
What is?
Katna is far superior to dogma. Much more gentle.
Well, I used to be a used karma salesman too, so I know about that stuff, and time for us to wake up and function as human beings.
Is there any relationship, or what relationship might there be between Aramaic and Sanskrit?
Actually, the Sanskrit language comes out of the Aramaic. That's a question I've lived in for about 25 years, and about a month ago I got a video on about India. And in this documentary about India, they trace the Sanskrit language and the Sanskrit peoples, the Buddhist tradition, right back to the temples in Turkey, which were Persian, and Zoroastrian, which was based in the Aramaic language.
And what was their view on, for instance, astrology, if any?
I don't know. That's not really been an interest of mine. It's not somewhere I've spent any time. You know, I know from an energetic point of view, everything that moves creates a field. So, do planets create an energetic field? Yes. If we have an energy that resonates with them, is it going to be an influence? Yes. And all of that is just an influence. The idea is to claim our human ability to choose and to do it differently than the old inclinations simply run our lives. So that would be my take on that one.
And to move in love.
Yeah, claim your human life first and foremost. First order of business, claim your human life. I'm here.
Okay.
So the first order of business is to claim your human life.
In the kingdom of heaven within. Did George Lamsa write anything other than his version of the Bible?
Oh, there's a really wonderful gathering of material that George Lamsa wrote, actually better than his Aramaic Bible. My understanding is that George said that he made about 1,600 changes out of what should have been 10,000 in the Aramaic. It really doesn't go to depth. However, he's got several awesome commentaries: Gospel Light, More Light on the Gospel, Old Testament Light, Idioms of the Bible Explained, the whole series of things that are fabulous. And Rocco Erica, who has a website called Noora, Noohra, which means light, Noora.com. You might go to Rocco's site. He is a protege of George Lamsa, and he's continued George's work and is reissuing several of the commentaries with updated material. So that might be a place you might want to check out is Noohra.com, Noohra.
And with that, we're going to have to close the show. We've got about 30 seconds left. So we will see everybody again on Monday. Please bring somebody with you and call in and ask your questions. We love to hear from you. Thank you. Have a blessed weekend.
Beautiful one. Thank you for your call. Have the best year yet.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.